This lesson goes with Kittel and Hoffer lesson 38, focusing on demonstrative adjectives and verbs with suffixes. Here's our sentence for today. Let's start by pronouncing. Vayikachehu Shaul bayom hahu velo natano lashuv bet aviv. Vayikachehu Shaul bayom hahu velo natano lashuv bet aviv. Well, let's start with a few things that are fairly straightforward. So we can start with this construct chain at the end of the sentence. Bet aviv simply means the house of his father. Beit, house, aviv, his father. Proper name at the beginning of the sentence, Shaul, is Saul. And then this particle velo simply means and not. Alright, if we put those words into place, and then we can look at this phrase, bayom hahu. This should be familiar to us. We've seen it since earlier in the year. Okay, before we translate that phrase, let's review demonstrative adjectives. We have two types of demonstratives. The first is the near demonstrative. That indicates something that's close to you. So this or these, near demonstrative. In Hebrew, we can say ze, which means this, referring to a masculine noun. We can say zot, which also means this, referring to a feminine noun. These are both singular. And then eile, referring to these, and this can be masculine or feminine. This is plural. So for instance, you might say hamelech hazeh, which means the king, this one, or we would just say this king. You could also say ha-malkah hazot, this queen. We could say ha-melachim ha'ela, which means these kings, or ha-malkot ha'ela, these queens. So these are the near demonstratives, ze, zot, ela. They're used as attributive adjectives. We can also have a far demonstrative, that's indicating something away from you, so that or those. For the far demonstratives, we simply use the third person forms of the independent personal pronouns. So who, which can mean he, when used this way, means that. He, which can mean she, when used this way, means that feminine. Hem means those, masculine. And hen means those, feminine. So, for instance, we can say hamelech hahu, which means that king. We can say hamalkah hahi, which means that queen. We can say ha-melachim hahem, which means those kings. And we can say ha-malkot hahen, which means those queens. So far demonstratives, those things away from you, and we use who, he, hem, and hen to indicate that. So then if we return to our phrase, bayom hahu, this is who being used as a far demonstrative, an attributive adjective. So the day, that one, bayom hahu, meaning on that day. Okay, now we can look at our verbs. The first one is lashuv, so let's parse lashuv. The first thing to notice is this lamed prefix, and the lamed prefix is going to indicate to us that this is an infinitive construct. Now, if we then look for the root, of course, what's left is shuv. So this is the root shuv in the kal infinitive construct, which has no person, gender, or number. So lashuv means to return. So let's put that in place. Now we can look at this verb, vayikachehu. Let's start with special features. First thing you notice is we have vav, patach, and a double. So we're looking at a vav conversive. This also shows us that this is a prefix form. We have our yod prefix there and our vav patach double. So prefix vav conversive. Now the root, we notice here that we have a dagesh in the kof, and then we have a chet. This dagesh is indicating either first nun or first lamed, and in this case we know first lamed lakach. For the stem, we can look at the vowel under the prefix, and this is our indicator of the kal. So this is just kal prefix of lakach. Now when we start looking at person, gender, or number, we've seen our yod prefix, which indicates the third person. Here we have this ending, hu, which is not our prefix complement. We would expect vayikachu if this were third masculine plural. But instead we have vayikachehu. So what we're looking at is actually another special feature. This is the hu ending, which is the third masculine singular object suffix. The verb itself, then, is simply third masculine singular. So this is kal prefix vav conversive, third masculine singular of lakach, plus a third masculine singular object suffix. And it means, and he took him. So here we have the object, hu, meaning him, attached directly to the verb. We've seen this already in some of our translations. So let's look at object suffixes on verbs. In the third masculine singular, they can occur in a couple of different forms. One is simply a vav, the second is an o, and the third is the one we've just seen, hu. So, ve, o, or hu. You've seen all of these previously as prepositional suffixes. Third feminine singular can either be a with the mapik, the feminine period, or ha with this comets hanging out underneath the hay. Second masculine singular is familiar, ha. Second feminine singular, also familiar, eich. First common singular, ni. Notice the nun that adds in here. We're used to seeing e simply meaning my, but here ni is the object suffix form. Plural, in the masculine plural we can have hem or just mem. In the feminine plural we can have hen or just nun. In the second masculine plural, it's familiar, chem. The second feminine plural, chen. And the first common plural, nu. So many of these are familiar. We just haven't seen them on verbs particularly often. When we add an object suffix to a verb, it can cause some changes in the vowels of the verb itself. These are fairly predictable. If we add an object suffix, the vowel at the beginning of the verb may reduce. This is simply an issue of shifting the accent of the word and causing vowel reduction. So, shamar, he guarded. If we add a, the third feminine singular, then we get shmara. Notice that our comments has reduced to a shva. It's a propretonic comments reduces. So this means he guarded her. Second, affixes may lose their characteristic vocalization. So, for instance, shamarta, you guarded. If we add ni, which is me, then we get shamartani. Notice here our comments has become a patach. So you still hear the a class, but you've lost the indicator, the clear indicator there of the second masculine singular that we've been used to. So shamartani, you guarded me. And finally, for pronunciation purposes, we may introduce an extra syllable. So yishmor, he will guard, and ni, me, becomes yishmereni. Notice we've added this Zere here, to make this pronounceable, Yishmereni. This means he will guard me. These are changes that take place are a little bit complex, and you just really need to learn to recognize them and not to form them. Alright, so vayikachehu, and he took him. Now our other verb, natano, we can now parse. Natano. Let's start with special features again. You'll notice that we have a vav, a holum vav on the end, o. This is not to be confused with the shurek, u, which is a verb affix. This is o, which is an object suffix. And notice that it has caused a reduction of our expected theme vowel of the cow. So this is a third masculine singular object suffix. Now what's left then is simply our root, natan, and we're just looking at a cow affix form, third masculine singular, that has had its comments reduced because of its appropriatonic comments now, and then a vowel shift under the tav. So this simply means he gave him. Now if we put that into place, then we can translate our sentence. Vayikachehu Shaul bayom hahu velo natano lashuv beit aviv. Literally this means, and Saul took him on that day, and he did not give him to return to the house of his father. Here Natan is functioning with a sense that we wouldn't use the same verb in English, but it means to allow, probably. So, and Saul took him on that day, and he did not allow him to return to the house of his father. Alright, that is the lesson for today. Do the exercises, and I will see you in class.